Let's get one thing absolutely straight about chipping. The ball doesn't give a flying whether it's played off the front foot or whether it's played off the back foot, or whether I do a loop-the-loop on the backswing, or whether I do the river dance on the backswing, or whether I hinge and hold, or whether I hinge and unhinge, or whether I finish here, or whether I finish here, or whether I finish here. All the ball cares about is the conditions at strike, the 2/100ths of a second that the ball is in contact with the club face. What was the speed? What was the loft? What was the condition of the ball? Was it a responsive ball, a hard ball? Was the club face wet? Was it dry? Are the grooves good? Are there no grooves? It only cares about the physical conditions at strike. So to play a variety of shots, nice, from a variety of lies around the green, you need to assess what needs to happen at strike to optimize the result. Oh, come round a bit. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh. So in this video, we'll build your chipping mastery in layers. We'll create the basic, simple, efficient, repeatable foundation shot. We'll look at the pros and cons of steep angle of attack to shallow angle of attack. We'll adapt using the logic of layers 1 and 2 to different lies around the green, and then stick around to the end. The bonus tip will be my answer to the most often asked question: how do I get more backspin on my chip shots? I'm Andrew Cullen. If you want to swing better, think better, score better, and get mastery of your short game, go on it. Oh, subscribe here. All right, so let's get into building your chipping mastery. Layer 1, keep your full swing fundamentals. Grip the same as full swing, posture the same as full swing, keep your ball position the same as full swing, for reasons that will become abundantly clear as we work our way through the 3 layers here. There'll be a logic or a method to my madness, but it's much easier to progress from chipping swing and easily into pitching swing and bunker swing into full swing if we get repetition. It also means you don't have to practice as much. So let me just get my full swing fundamentals. We'll play a little chip shot first of all. Posture the same as full swing, grip the same as full swing, just a little chip shot, and then we'll progress on. If I do exactly the same setup, my fundamentals the same, and I do a little more swing, pitch shot, and then we'll progress on to attack the flag with this last one, which is almost a full sand wedge for me. Here we go, full swing fundamentals, all the same, little more swing. And we just make extensions of the same swing to get the distance control. Step 2, 1 moving part. The simpler you keep the movement in this sport, the easier it is to repeat. So with a chipping swing, we just want to feel that the upper body turn, backswing and follow through completely controls everything. Controls where the hands and arms go, therefore controls where the club goes, and creates any movement naturally with the lower half. So if I just focus on turning from my belt buckle to my neck, with everything attached to that, I'll show you that in a minute, that's basically your shot. Now it doesn't matter which method you've seen used, like a hinge and hold with Mickelson. You watch what his body does, don't just listen to what he says, watch what his body does. His body turns, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. You watch the great Seve Ballesteros in his day, beautiful, simple body turn with the arms very attached. So if we keep this super simple, I'm going to just give you a little exercise here. Only do it with short shots, wouldn't do it to pitching shots. As soon as that arm starts to bend and rotate, we need a slightly different movement of the arms, but we just keep the arms connected and we turn the body back and through. So here's your basic chipping shot, 1 moving part. So I've got my grip position, posture position, ball position for my full swing. I turn the chest back, I turn the chest through, and I collect the ball on the way past. Just show you one more for luck. Turn back, turn through, keep it super simple. All right, foundation swing step number 3, ball position in the middle. Why? Let me explain the logic. What we got to do to strike the ball properly in any golf shot is get the leading edge of the club hitting somewhere underneath the equator of the ball. Then the ball is going to fly. We're going to get it out of the sweet spot. So we need to deliver the club back with the leading edge coming underneath the equator of the ball. So the low point in the swing should be at the ball or just beyond the ball to make that happen. That's the physics of the exercise. Where's the low point in the swing? The sternum is where the hands will swing their lowest, and therefore where the sternum is where the club head will swing its lowest. Now, if I've got stage 1 and 2 right and the body is turning properly, the sternum is already ahead of the ball, target side of the ball at strike, so I'm going to deliver the low point in the swing after the ball and get the low point coming in the right place. So the reason I would have ball position in the middle is so that the sternum comes easily back to the ball. It also helps if you have a little weight on the left side, a little bit of shaft lean, and that way again with a simple turning motion, then we're going to get great strike on the ball. Hold it. Watcha. So I'm just going to finish off foundation shot by very easily controlling trajectories and rolls just by changing the club, but with all those elements exactly the same. Again, what I need to do, because the contact time between ball and club face is so short, 1/200th of a second, there's no time for the ball to roll up the club face or for me to do anything magic during strike. It just isn't possible. So we need to make sure that very short space of time there is friction between the club face and the ball, so the ball takes on the information of spin and trajectory. All right, so we need clean grooves, we need good grooves, and we need a decent ball. Personally, I use a Mizuno Pro S. So let me just show you these 3 shots here. I'm going to do the first one with an 8-iron. I'm going to try and hold them all. That's always the objective with chipping. So I'll just go through my process again of full swing setup, grip, posture, ball position, and then we're just going to turn the body a little bit on the way back, a little bit on the way through. So there's 8-iron chip and run shot. Should come a little right now. On you go, Sam. Not bad. Okay, so if I move up to pitching wedge now, obviously with more loft, I'm going to need more swing. With more swing and more loft, that's more speed. I'm going to get more backspin, sorry. And so let's just extend the length of swing, extend the landing point forwards, but with more swing, more loft, I am bound to get more backspin on the ball, but exactly the same setup, exactly the same swing. So pitching wedge. And so just crawl over the slope, move a little bit towards the right hand side. That's pretty much 2 gimmies. All right, let's just finish off. Last one, I'll hit sand wedge. So once again, I've got more loft. Once again, I'm going to use more swing. That means I'm going to get more backspin on the ball, so I need to get the landing point further forward, but I'm not going to change the swing technique. So I just need to turn further back, turn further through, probably just land it on top of the ridge here with my 54 degree. Here we go. Yeah, about there. I just didn't quite roll out how I thought it was. 2 gimmies, 1 almost gimme. All right, let's move on to the positives and negatives of steep angle of attack or shallow angle of attack using the bounce. All right, layer 2, we need to understand the physics of strike a little deeper here before we get into dealing with difficult lies around the green. Should I be swinging steep into the ball, or should I be coming in shallow to the ball? Quite frankly, the right answer is we need them both. We're going to find that out. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? So players who have a lot of shaft lean, who use a lot of wrist on the backswing, so a typical hinge and hold, would tend to swing down steep at the ball. Is it very difficult to get the leading edge underneath the equator of the ball? Yes. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. So we can get a good strike on the ball from there, but basically coming from so steep an angle, we're aiming at less surface area of the ball to hit successfully underneath the equator than if we're coming from a shallow swing. So a shallow swing, we would have less shaft lean, less wrist movement, particularly on the backswing, and so we're coming in shallower. You see the logic in it. I'm aiming at much more of a surface area underneath the equator of the ball where I'm able to hit and get the ball up in the air. And in addition, as you've seen probably on many videos, the bounce is your friend. So the bounce is that the difficult to show you from down here. The back edge of the club is lower than the front edge of the club, with the sand wedge and lob wedge particularly. That means if we're coming in shallow, the bottom edge is going to hit the ground first rather than leading edge hitting the ground first. Again, if we're coming down steep and we get the leading edge just getting a little bit the ground before the ball, we're not going to get your traditional chunk shot. But if we're coming in and we're using the bounce, where the bounce hits the ground first, we're basically still going to slide in underneath the equator of the ball. So using the bounce, particularly when there's very little grass under the ball, can be a huge advantage. So let me show you these two shots. Right, so let's go steep swing first, leaning shaft, a lot of wrist on the backswing, but I'm going to strike it well. Again, if I'm turning my body, I get it. Okay, let's go steep swing again. So leaning shaft, a lot of wrist movement on the backswing, but getting the leading edge hitting the ground just before the ball. Usually comes when I don't turn well. All right, so let's use the bounce here. So I've got a straighter shaft position, less movement with the wrists on the backswing. So I'm just going to bruise the grass on the way through because the bounce is hitting the ground first. And let's do a second one where I'm going to deliberately try and hit the bounce well before the ball, and we're still going to get a good strike because we're coming in so shallow to the ball. Exactly. All right, so now we're ready with basic foundation shot and understanding of shallow swing and steeper swing to deal with some horrible lies around the green. So I'm going to start off here with basically no grass whatsoever underneath the ball. I'm next to the bunker, but I'm not in the bunker. And so here is where I really do not want to dig into the ground before the ball. If I hit the ground before the ball, I want the club to bounce. So I'm going to go foundation shot, ball still in the middle. I'm going to go straight shaft. I'm going to make sure that the wrists are not active because any wrist movement is going to make that swing steeper. All right, so here we go. So we're just going to set up with straight shaft. Sometimes just putting a little more pressure on the right hand than the left hand stops using the wrist so much. Foundation shot is turning both on the backswing and on the follow through. Should spin a lot from there. I just rolled out a little bit, but I got a nice contact on the ball. Didn't dig into the ground before the ball. That's using the bounce. Okay, here's horrible lie number 2, sitting down on an old divot here. I'm also one, we can play this both ways. You can dig them out, but they tend to shoot out a little bit hot and low, so difficult to control the spin on it. I like to use the bounce here as well, so we're not digging deeper into the divot. We're still going to come underneath the equator of the ball, so we're still going to get quite a lot of spin on the ball. So I'm just going to use the bounce again here. So I'm going to go again straight shaft. I'm going to grip the club a little tighter with the right hand than the left hand, so I don't get wrist movement happening and making the swing steeper. So here we go. So foundation shot again. So I'm just turning on the way back, turning on the way through. Got pretty good contact, should spin quite a lot. Yeah, just ruled out a little bit. But I'm on the green and putting. Okay, horrible lie number 3. You can't even see how horrible it is, maybe from this camera. We've been deep rough and I've short-sided myself as well. I'm going to show you 2 ways to play this shot. I'm going to go standard foundation shot with a lob wedge, and then I'll show you something that Alex Buckner, short game specialist on the European Tour, taught me. Now, here, and you'll see it from this camera here, if I come in wide trying to use the bounce, I'm just going to trap more and more and more grass between the club face and ball. So I want to get a steeper approach here. So I'm going to do a few things to help that steep approach. Ball position is going to be middle. I could even put it slightly right. I'm going to get a lot of weight on the left side. You'll see the shaft is going to lean forward. So I'm going to go left side, lean forward. I'm going to pick it up quick, and I'm trying to get as little grass between the club face and ball as I can. I'm definitely going to have club face, grass between club face and ball to strike. So I'm never going to get a great strike from here, but we just got to get it on the green and get putting. All right, so here we go. Lean on the left foot. lean the shaft forward, pick the club up, and then it's foundation shot again. Make sure you're turning the upper body on the way through. Here we go. Out. Again, no control. He's running and running and running. With a bit of luck, it'll stop on the green. We're okay. So there's your standard way to play this shot. And let me show you something Alex Buckner taught me. Okay, so in this attempt, I'm going to open up the club face a little more. So the initial trajectory is going to be slightly higher. I'm still not going to get backspin on the ball because the contact between club face and ball is so bad. There's so much grass between the face and the ball at strike. But I'm going to open it up to send the initial trajectory slightly higher, and I'm going to try and hit it out of the toe. If I get it out the sweet spot, they do tend to come off a little bit hot and they'll just keep going. So I'm actually going to try and hit the ball opposite the toe, where we're not going to get as good a smash factor, transfer of energy from club head to ball. And so it's like hitting a toe shot off the fairway. It's a bit of a dead shot, and that's kind of what we want here. So I'm just going to address it out the toe, open the club face a little bit, and because the club face is open, I'm pointing left, and then it's back to foundation shot, making sure you're turning again. So we address it out the toe. Again, I'm going to keep weight left. I'm going to lean the shaft, pick it up quick. We'll just see if we can get it coming out a little bit more dead than what the last one was. Exactly. And now, almost a gimme, we got a little bit more control from a horrible, horrible lie. Okay, last horrible lie, and it's a sloping lie. I only want to do one because this is the one where I see the most mistakes being made around the green. Downhill lie. What you have to understand, again, to get the physics of the strike right, is how your body is in relation to the slope. So if I quickly come up on the flat bit here, when I'm hitting a normal chip shot, you want to think that the spine or the upper body is basically at 90 degrees to the ground, especially with the weight slightly on the left side. That compensates for the right hand being lower than the left. So I get into this more or less perpendicular position to the ground. So it's quite easy for me, if I turn properly, to get the sternum in the right place, to get the low point in the right place. Now, when we're on any slope, you want the same relationship. So especially with this downhill lie here, ball's also slightly above my feet just to make it slightly more awkward, I want to get perpendicular to the ground, because if I don't, if I stand slightly back this way, basically in effect my relationship to the ground is like that, and I'm always going to hit the ground before the ball. So you, particularly with a downhill lie, need to go with the slope, and very importantly, stay with the slope. Again, the common mistake here, sorry, I was trying to speak German there. The common mistake here is that we change our orientation to the slope before the ball's hit. Sternum's in the wrong position, low point's in the wrong position, and you're just going to chuff it. Even if you've got a putter in the hand and you've got like a downhill lie on the approach to the green. All right, so we're going to get perpendicular to the slope. So lots of weight has to go on the left side. I have to stand very wide to keep my balance, because if I don't, then the body never wants to fall over. So it's going to compensate and get me in a bad strike position again. So very wide stance, go with the slope, stay with the slope. Right, what am I doing here? We've got to try and land it on the front edge. It's going to roll a little bit right to left. So just watch how my body is relative to the slope and how it stays with the slope from start to strike. Foundation shot, turn, turn. Beautifully struck. A little bit too far right to target. Perfect weight. Thanks for sticking around for the bonus tip. I promised you that I would tell you how you can maximize your backspin on chip shots around the green. I've already given you a few clues. There's been more loft, more backspin, more speed, more backspin, clean grooves and new grooves, more backspin. And if we have a responsive ball, a ball that will compress a little bit in the cover, so the cover grips into the grooves as it's being struck, that will give you more backspin. But we need to talk about one more thing, which is physics. The difference between the angle of attack of the club head. We've talked about coming in shallow. We've talked about coming in steep, which gives more backspin. Well, it doesn't depend so much on this angle. It depends on the difference between the loft of the club at strike, or what we call dynamic loft, and the angle of attack down at the ball. So the greater the difference between the angle of attack and the loft on the club, the more backspin we're going to get. So to an extent, it doesn't matter if my spin loft is this angle here, whether I'm coming shallow or whether I'm coming steep, the spin on the ball will be the same. The trajectory will be very different, but the spin on the ball will be the same. So it's the spin loft that we need to maximize to get maximum spin on the golf ball. So obviously, if I go 8 iron, I'm not going to get much spin on the ball. If I go 9 iron, pitching wedge, sand wedge, lob wedge, I'm going to increase my chances of getting more backspin on the ball. Obviously, that will take more swing, has a little bit more risk of getting a good strike on the ball, but that is your way to maximize your backspin, is to increase the spin loft, whether you've got a steep angle of attack or a shallow angle of attack. So let me finish off here and just show you a couple of shots, one with a sand wedge, one with a lob wedge, and we'll try and film how the ball reacts on the green. Let's go sand wedge first. Bit of a tight lie, so I'm going to play this one with very little shaft lean, so the bounce is going to just bruise the ground on the way past, and then we're just going to try and land it pretty much opposite the yellow ball I've got there. So here we go. You should see with the other camera how the ball's going to react. So this is sand wedge, straight shaft more or less, using the bounce of the club. Foundation shot. Pretty good distance. And then let's go lob wedge, same approach, but I'm going to make more swing obviously, so the ball's going to land well beyond the yellow ball on the green there. Again, you'll see that how that reacts, so I'm increasing the spin loft here. So more swing, more speed, more loft, more spin loft, the ball should stop quicker. Bit of a divot, should stop very quickly, almost too quickly because I struck it so pure. That is the effect of spin loft. You know, my full-time job for the last 35 years has been to help golfers of all abilities. So if you're struggling with your game, long game or short game, go on son, go on son, go on son. Ooh. And check out my online coaching offers at Buy Me a Coffee. And if putting those nasty little 1 meter monsters is still a big problem for you, check out this video here.